One take. One take. Hey, I'm David. I wanted to hop on to the good old YouTube and talk about some of my thoughts on tech, coding, the industry, projects I'm working on, and what gets me through these wacky times. So today I want to talk about coding in this crazy AI era. More specifically, how I think people need to think about coding and approaching learning to code right now. How I'm personally dealing with all the crazy layoff news and just the fact that the job market seems cooked and everybody's going crazy. And why I think the answer isn't to panic, but to actually just learn to love building things. And I'm not pretending to be here to be the official spokesperson of the industry. I'm no senior Google engineer, wish I was. I'm not. So I'm me. I'm not sitting in a dark room either with 9 Mac minis trying to spin up $1 million a month business. I'm just someone who is trying to get better. Hopefully someone like you watching who wants to get into tech, likes to build things, likes to do this stuff. So my big idea today is this. I think the people that are going to make it through this weird era of tech are going to be the people who actually enjoy building things. Because again, if you enjoy it enough, that's going to keep you going, not the doomer behavior going on right now. And I think the wrong question is coding dead? Right now, I think everybody is asking, like, is coding dead? Is AI just going to do all the coding? Is there even a reason to learn the code? Because, I'll just have AI do it. No, there's still a reason. The AI, it does need to be guided, and you need to tell it what to do and be very specific. AI is not very good at context, but, the intricacies of AI is not what I'm trying to get into. I mean, I get it. The market's weird. Things are very uncertain right now. And AI is getting better. It does get better. Every day there's some headline that your laptop is going to become your manager soon. But is coding dead? I think is the wrong question. The better question is, do you enjoy building things? Do you actually enjoy building things? Because if you do, I think you're going to be okay. Not because the market's ever going to be easy, or that AI doesn't matter, or that it's all sunshine, rainbows, investing stock options. But because if you enjoy the craft, you're more likely to just keep going. You're more likely to keep building. You're likely to survive the uncertainty long enough to get good. So that gets me to my next point, the doomers and the hype beasts. I'm just going to hit on this really quick because I think it's important. You've got two extreme sides to the AI argument right now. On the one side, you've got the doomers. They're saying AI is going to take every job. Developers are cooked. White collar work is going to be over in 18 months. We're all just going to end up floating around like the people from WALL-E. Just a bunch of fat humans sitting in a chair, sipping Slurpees, getting managed by a spreadsheet with a face. But then on the other side, you've got the hype beasts. You need to go all in on AI. You need agents, workflows, models, 9 Mac minis running OpenClaw, or whatever the latest thing is. If you're not automating your automation, you're already behind. And I mean, look, I like AI. I use AI all the time. I think it's a tremendous tool, and I think you should use it. Absolutely. I'm not saying do not use AI. I'm not one of those purists. But I also think the truth is just somewhere in the middle of those two extreme arguments. AI is not nothing, but it's also not magic. It's an accelerator. It should be helping you move faster. You still need to understand what the code's doing. You need to review what the AI is doing. You need to understand what problem you're solving, why the code exists. All code you put into a code base is a liability. Eventually someone's going to have to maintain it, whether it's you or AI. Someone's going to have to fix it eventually, and if you're putting in a bunch of slop, it's not going to work. I feel like these are topics that have been kind of, beaten to death lately, right? So that's why I don't think the answer is be scared of AI, but I also don't think the answer is worship AI, right? I think the answer is use AI to accelerate your learning, but do not outsource your curiosity. So that takes me to what's going on with the job market right now. I do think the tech market has changed for sure. I don't think people are imagining that. It's not just vibes. I mean, the vibes are bad, but there's substance behind said vibes. Tech had this insane run, especially, through the mid to late 2010s through 2022, give or take. There was this period where you actually genuinely, I know it's hard to believe, you could genuinely go get a CS degree, just go to a boot camp, do a few projects, learn React, make a portfolio website, and you only had to do a couple of those things too. You didn't have to do all five. And when you do that, you'll get a job making potentially more money than anyone in your family has ever seen. In some cases, and maybe that's not everybody's story, but in some cases, that was actually a thing you could do. And I mean, that was amazing. Anybody who says they got into tech for the money, I don't hate on that. That's a legitimate reason to pursue anything. It's just that now the market's going to get really murky. Getting into tech just for the money, I don't think that's going to be the play anymore. I think the bar is just much higher. Companies aren't gambling on juniors or people who don't have explicit experience in the same way they once were. AI's raised the expectations. There are also more people just trying to get into the field because of the hype. There was a cultural shift from computers, I think, from nerds, to, wow, you're a software engineer? Whoa, I want to get into that. Get into computers, son, So there's a ton of people trying to flood the market, and the market's contrasting right now because AI can turn somebody who knows what they're doing into a significantly higher producer probably still with a lot of work. I bet these senior devs are ripping their hair out right now with, I got to do my work and the junior work. Awesome. Great. But it is frustrating right now. If you're new, you're trying to break in. If you're told, just learn the code and everything will work out. I don't think it means the future's over though, but I do think the path is changing. The path is less clear now. Previously, the path felt a little more obvious. Not easy, but more obvious. Get the degree, get the cert, learn the framework, survive the interview gauntlet, get the hoodie, become a tech person. But now I think the path is blurrier. None of what I've mentioned is enough anymore. Companies want specific proof. They want to know you can solve real problems, specifically the problems they're trying to solve, which makes pairing yourself up with a company more difficult because if I haven't worked in this domain, then I may not be the best fit because I don't know about this specific area of tech. I work in web and you're doing, hardware, for example. So that really makes it difficult to get placed for a job. But I mean, it makes sense from the company's standpoint. Hey, we do want somebody who can do the thing. I gotta say it's a tough pill to swallow, but crazy concept, right? We want people who can do the job. And the thing is, coding's hard. It's extremely hard. But instead of asking when you're thinking about how do I become a dev? What do I learn? What do I do? Instead of asking, what do I need to look employable? I think the better question is, what can I build that actually makes me more capable? And I'm finally getting to the first part of my point of the video. I know I've done a lot of yapping, but learn to love the code, right? I said in the title, learn to love the code and stop fearing the layoffs. I'm finally getting to the first part. Thank goodness. And I mean, this is where I've personally landed. If you want to get into coding now, you need to find something you genuinely enjoy about it. Because right now, the path to coding is very murky. It's not a straight, get the degree, get the job. It's not like that anymore. It's not even clear of, you built a few projects? Sure, we'll take you on. I just think you need to find something you genuinely enjoy about it. And that's not to say if you want to do it for the money, that's not a bad thing. Money's great. I like money. You like money? You like money too? I love money. Yeah, I love money a lot. See, we got a lot in common here. We've got so much in common. This is great. This is amazing. We're friends. We're already. This is big fan of money. Big fan of money. Big fan of not stressing about how I'm going to pay rent this month. Amazing, right? It's an incredible concept. And then again, a lot of devs probably, got into tech for the money when they probably never even thought about it. And then they became amazing devs. Is that a bad thing? No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think there are some people out there who say like, oh, you're only in it for the money. Why you do anything? Sometimes you got to pay your bills. But I do think the market's different right now. And I think if the only thing pulling you forward is like, I want that paycheck, there's going to be something that comes along probably in the near future that is a better path to that paycheck. So coding's hard. Learning's messy. There's so much uncertainty. And I think you need to just love this stuff now more than ever. Because if you don't, like, if money's just pulling you forward, there's probably a better way to just make money. But you need to learn to love this coding stuff if this is what you want to do. So how did I get here? Well, a little bit about Davey sitting here yapping. I got into programming in about 2018. I was a management information systems major, not a CS grad. And I got exposed to web development, Java, databases, systems, project management, like tech, business, crossover kind of stuff. I wasn't a full comp sci curriculum kid, but I wasn't out here writing compilers in my basement, right? You feel me? But it gave me enough exposure to say, hey, this stuff's actually really cool. And I want to take that idea a step further. It taught me I could do it. Like, that's an incredible feeling when you write some code and it works. And it's like, oh, I can figure this out. This is an amazing feeling. And one of the projects that really hooked me was this, like, I just sat down one day and said, I'm building for the love of the game. And I built this terrible but fun little Java CLI game where it was kind of like Pokemon, but instead of Pokemon, my friends were the Pokemon and they were fighting each other. And my friends would have these moves tailored to their personalities. So I was kind of like poking at my friends while also making a game about them. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I knew just enough about coding to build it all with like a little bit of help from the internet, but not so much that like it was painful. And I had so much fun. I've been strapped to find a project that brings me that much joy. But that's the thing that got me into it, is I built something using my own creativity because I wanted to do it, because I thought it was cool. It's like how I imagine painters paint, artisans do whatever it is they do. People who, woodworkers create beautiful works of art because it makes them like, there's an intrinsic value inside of them that makes them want to do it. And I think, not to get so dramatic, but coding is also kind of that way. It's just that there's also a huge business purpose to it too. So like, yeah, you can go work for a company and do a lot of cool stuff with them, but like it's the thing in here that keeps you going. So the joy of coding is not about optimizing for job placement. It's not about, it is about building something that makes you excited. And that's, I got lost in the sauce because after I graduated college, I was like, I want to turn this into a job. I want to do this thing for real. But I didn't really know what that meant, unfortunately. By 2019, 2020, there were plenty of guidelines on like, here's how you become a dev. But like, it's easier said than done sometimes. But I got lost in the sauce. And this is where I think a lot of people get stuck. I started asking the same questions that probably everybody asks, should I learn React? React's really big. Think, 2019, 2020, like React's a big deal. Should I learn .NET? Should I learn backend, front end? Cloud's this really big thing right now. You're not going to be successful if you don't understand how the cloud works. But like, should I learn DevOps? Because, like the code needs to get to the cloud, and it needs to get to the cloud in a clean way that doesn't take everything down, preferably. But also it's like, you're not really a developer if you don't know Rust. But like Go's also like a really cool language to learn. Like you spiral. And here's the thing, to be a dev, you need to know a little bit about everything. And you need to be flexible and you need to learn all this stuff eventually. But I think my problem was I was trying to speed run like, how do I look like I can be attractive to employees instead of, I want to build what I want to build because it makes me happy. Right? Because when you just build for the love of the game, that's how you learn things and get better, because you actually go deep into those topics. And I think that's where I got lost for a long time. I spent years just kind of hopping around thinking like, oh, I'll learn this thing and then I'll be a dev. And it just never comes because that's not how it works. You need to just learn to love the code, be less worried about like what you're building with, and be a little bit more concerned about, hey, did I build the thing? So that's a shift that came inside of me is screw it. I'm a just build. 2025 came along and I was like, screw it. I'm gonna just build. Like it took years, but I'm going to just build. My portfolio probably looks all over the place. It's not cohesive. I would say if you're trying to get placed for a job, you maybe want like a cohesive portfolio. But mine right now, it's filled with observability tools, full stack apps with authentication enabled, mini game engines, procedural terrain generators, dashboards, backend services, little experiments that I made that probably make no sense to anybody but me. But, you know, each of those projects teaches me something and I get better through them. And that's what I think, you know, I just feel like online there are so many people sitting around saying, oh, what should I build? What should I learn? How do I get a job? You know, there's no clear roadmap anymore. And I'm like, yeah, there's not. Just go build something. Go build something. I don't care what it is. Build it because you want to build it. Because the other thing with me personally is, you know, once I started building, eventually the ideas become less difficult to come across. Like now I kind of have like a list of things I need to, but like want to build because I have projects in place that I want to keep up with or improve in some way. And the building just compounds. So if you feel stuck and you're like, what do I want to build? Because I was there too. I was like, I need to build stuff, but like what? Just build a thing. Because then the ideas will just start coming naturally. They'll flow into you, I promise. So stop fearing the layoffs. And when I say this part, yeah, it's a little hyperbolic, but I'm not trying to downplay them at all. Layoffs suck. I have experienced a layoff. It is hard. It is terrible. It is scary. But I think if you're trying to break into the industry during a bad market, you know, and you're sitting back watching people struggle, like that's exhausting. That is terrifying. And like right now, the market for tech, not great. So my advice is, you know, focus on what you can control. Because I feel like fear becomes much worse when you feel helpless. You can't control the market. You can control you. So you can go build stuff. Go build something. You know, getting into tech may not be the thing to do right this second, but that doesn't mean it's never, ever going to be the thing to do. I think agency really matters. You know, when you take control of things and you say, like, I'm going to focus on me, drown out the noise about the market. I'm just going to go build stuff. And then, you know, if there's a job, it'll come. But again, my whole point is learn to love the coding. Because it doesn't matter. You can never get a job and it won't matter. Because you'll learn to love this thing. So instead of doom scrolling the layoffs, wondering whether you're cooked, I think it is better to ask, what can I build this week that will make me better? I think that's a healthier question. That is one that you have more control over. Like you don't have control over the job recruiters, the market, or anything going on right now. So I think I've yapped longer than I've wanted to. I actually did have a script here, and if I actually followed the script to a T, we'd be here for a couple hours probably. I am I think I'm very ambitious with what I can like cram into like a video. But if you've made it this far, like I genuinely want to say thanks for sitting around, even if you've fallen asleep. Even if you're doing something else and you're not really paying attention, I mean, thanks for sticking through. And I mean, honestly, everything I've been talking about so far, like I kind of want to save it for more videos because this is what I want the channel to be about. I'm not here pretending I have everything figured out. I do not. I'm not trying to sell you a course. I'm not trying to be the final authority on tech careers. Personally, Like, I just want to talk about like what I'm building, what I'm learning, what I think is interesting, and I want to share some of my perspectives because I've consumed enough content to feel like I've shaped opinions that I think could be helpful. And I think a healthy perspective on life, not to go off on a tangent, is you know, if you learn something, that means you can help someone. May not be everyone, but like it could be someone. So that's what I want to do. I want to share my thoughts, and hopefully they can be encouraging. So right now, if you're scared about the layoffs or the state of tech, like I get it, I really do. I just don't think the fear should be driving you. I don't think it should steer you away from tech. I don't think it should drive you to just like grind harder and harder and harder until you're just like ground into dust. But I think you just need to learn to love the code because if this is what you want to do, like coding is so hard. It is a difficult thing to do, especially all day with pressure of a job. So learn to love it, man. Like man and gals, everybody. Learn to love it. Learn to really enjoy the craft because that's what's going to keep you going. Build, repeat, do the thing. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up right here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. I'm David. Definitely, let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you've been struggling with the job market right now. If there's anything that you want to hear me yap about, let me know. But I've got some plans. I've got things I want to share, and I'm gonna go from there. Catch you guys in the next one.